The Live Financially Savvy podcast was created by Atia, the savvy accountant. She is a CPA, CA, and certified financial educator instructor. She has a passion for building generational wealth and wants to help you and others to do the same. She's created the podcast to help others live financially savvy. Lower your debt and build your net worth using techniques you learned here from others doing amazing things to live financially savvy.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Live Financially Savvy podcast. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Desiree Martinez, who is actually the wife of somebody in the military. And so her company actually helps spouses of military. And so I wanted to put this episode as a special episode for Memorial Day weekend. So I hope you enjoy this episode. We talk about how you can budget off of a military income and how people can budget and off of one income if your spouse is in the military and you have one income coming in. So we talk all about that and how her company actually helps military wives. So I thought it was a great episode to put out as a special for Memorial Weekend. So without further ado, let's get into the episode with Desiree Martinez. So, hey, Desiree, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking with you guys.
Yeah, so I like my guests to introduce themselves in their own words. So if you could just introduce yourself, give a little background to the audience so that they hear from you.
Sure. My name is Desiree Martinez. I run a social media marketing agency that focuses on helping boring businesses stand out in a cluttered newsfeed. When you work with us, you not only get an affordable and effective social media content plan, but you also are helping to put military spouses to work anywhere that they get stationed in the world. I am also a mom. My husband is in the United States Air Force. I'm a mom of two kids. They're 4 and 2. I have a dog, and my favorite thing in the world is to travel and go do things locally or in my state or in my country or wherever I happen to be. I'm one of those people that just gets really ornery if I have been stuck in my house or haven't got to go do anything for a while.
Oh, wow. So you're a military wife. So thank you for your service and your husband's service. So right now, so you guys where are you guys stationed right now?
Currently, we are stationed in South Korea. We are assigned to Osan Air Base, and we have our orders, and we will be heading to Las Vegas in the summer.
Oh, in the summer, that's really hot there.
My husband and I, when we met, we lived in Phoenix, and then our last assignment was at Texas. So I'm fine with the heat, especially if it's a dry heat.
Yeah. Definitely in Phoenix, you get that heat. And so you have your social media company. And so what do you guys do specifically for your clients?
We are a monthly subscription service that focuses on daily content specific to your brand. So we have a basic package that starts at $149 a month. And you get daily content that posts to your Facebook and Twitter account. We include custom graphics and a small Facebook advertising budget so that you're able to get the best amount of coverage, see growth, but also still have money in your budget for doing other important marketing efforts, whether it's website work, SEO, PR, whatever your business is. We are focused on making sure that the stress of social media is taken off your shoulders and without being a financial burden.
Awesome. So I know that you are big on helping people deal with being a one income home household. So what are some techniques and tricks that you can share for people that are in the situation of being a one income household and they're trying to figure out ways that they can save more money?
Sure. So what we're doing currently in my house, and bet a lot of you are like, wait, how are you a one income family if you run a business and your husband's in the Air Force? We have a long-term plan. My husband will be separating from the Air Force in November of 2019. And so we have the objective of my business replacing his income when he gets out. And so we have a plan for that. So we are doing everything in our power to live off of our one paycheck that we get from him. So the biggest thing that I would suggest people do is to have an open and honest conversation with your spouse about money. If you and your husband or you and your spouse are not on the same page about where you are financially, like where you are currently, what your financial mistakes have been in the past, and what your goals are in the future, you're not going to be able to get very far together or as a family or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
That definitely makes sense. And so you said you guys are living off one income right now. And so
Yes.
what are some techniques that you guys are doing? Like, have you guys cut back on subscriptions? Have you guys how have you guys reduced your expenses?
So before my husband and I have been together for I want to say about 9 years right now. We've been married for 5. We dated for 4, and we spent a lot of time really focusing on making sure that we got out of debt. So we paid off. We only had one car for a long time. It was the car I had out of college, and we focused on getting that paid off. And then I also had made some bad financial decisions in my youth with credit cards. And so I had worked with a consolidation company to consolidate all of my debt and get that paid off. So we paid off all of that debt that we had. So our car payment and our credit card debt, and focused on making sure that we did not have credit cards. Now, I know a lot of people have their own personal opinions about that. We have decided that credit cards are not something we want. If we cannot pay for it with cash or, with what is in our account or in our savings, then it is not something that we actually need. So a lot of people like to have a credit card in case of emergencies. Well, when we paid off our car and my credit cards, we took that money that we were using for our payments and put that into savings. So then if something catastrophic happened, like if the car broke or we needed tires, or someone had to go to the doctors or whatever it may be, we were able to make sure that could be paid for.
Yeah, so you basically created your emergency fund, and so you just live without credit cards.
Yes. And so the other thing that we do, so my husband and I are not all right, we have one income, we have to live in a box and not go do anything or see anything. We are not those people at all. So we know every month what we have to pay for. So, and most of you guys know, your biggest expense generally is your rent or your mortgage. You have your car insurance. We actually when we had a second kid, we had to buy a bigger car. So we are about 1 year away from paying off our other car. So we do currently have a car payment. So you have your car payment, you have your car insurance, you have your electric bill, your cell phone bill, your gas bill, your all the normal bills that are coming every month. And so those should always be an expected budget.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in charge of our budget. So what I have done is I look at what those are every single month, and I actually split up those payments so that I don't have one paycheck where more money comes out than another. So I make sure that it's fairly equal how much gets spent on all those bills over both paychecks. And then we try really hard to stick to a grocery budget. We have really looked into things like what are things that we can do to cut back on our expenses. Now, while we are in South Korea, a lot of our rules and regulations that normal people would have kind of gone out the window because we have to pay for import costs and travel and things like that for getting our food. But when we were in the States, we did not have a Costco or a Sam's membership because we found that when we looked at the money, we were spending more on membership and buying in bulk versus just buying what we needed.
Yeah.
So there was less waste. So we had this mentality let's empty our fridge and our pantry every week or two and then buy what we needed for that. We would have obviously the ongoing things you always need chicken and beef and seasonings and flour and sugar and stuff. But we would make a menu and we would shop for what we needed for that menu based on what those needs were.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we don't coupon. We don't coupon because the food we eat, there's never coupons for. We don't buy box goods and things like that.
Okay.
And so we found that by cooking and meal planning, that it helped us with keeping our costs down for food. We also would do things like, for better quality food at more affordable costs, we would do things like Bountiful Basket. Bountifulbasket.org has and works with local farmers state by state that gives you a basket of in-season fruits and vegetables. It's like an actual laundry basket filled with produce for $15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you just have to go to the local pickup location and get it. And then there's like $1.50 charge for the co-op to run. So it's a co-op organization. And you don't get to pick and choose what you want. So stuff that's in season, but there's almost always things in there like lettuce and bananas and oranges. And then you get kind of some fun produce that you get to figure out what it is and gives you a chance to try new cooking and stuff. So it's a great way, especially if you have a lot of kids. Like I have 2 kids, so they're in this constant state of devouring produce. So it helps with that cost.
That's
we also found when we were in Texas, we had this. I know that when we go to Las Vegas, we will have this. We found a raw milk. We found a milk co-op, like a dairy co-op, and people would do a monthly milk run. And so you would get raw, unpasteurized, essentially milk, which is really healthy for you. And we have to do that in our house because my husband and my son are lactose intolerant. And the reason that you become lactose intolerant is because when your milk is pasteurized, it removes all of the good and bad bacteria that's in the milk. And so when you have the raw milk, it's lactose, if you're lactose intolerant, you can actually consume it better.
Oh, okay.
And so we did those sorts of co-ops. We found these co-ops for specific things that we wanted for different foods to help lower our bills but still have a good quality produce, good quality food. And then we would budget for things like eating out, because that's unrealistic to think that you're not going to eat out. And then when we would have an entertainment fund. And so whenever we would want to go, we knew we'd want to do something on a regular basis, we would have that money available, and then we would do it as cheap as we could. So some of our tips for doing things cheap, and I will let you guys know, my husband and I pretty much go and do something monthly. So whether it's like
you're not depriving yourself.
No, and you shouldn't. The point of living, what's the point of saving if you're not going to live?
Exactly.
So we did things like, we are big on using Airbnb for renting houses and apartments. You can rent a whole place out for really cheap. I've been using Airbnb for 10 years for travel, and I've traveled all over the world with it. And it's always cheaper than getting a hotel, because you can get, whether you need just a room or if you want a whole space, a whole house, you can actually literally rent a whole castle or an island on Airbnb. So
oh my goodness.
What your needs are, you can, and your budget is, you can set it and find something that will work. And then we find free things that we can do in different cities or towns or that are going on locally. A lot of, if you bank with a bigger bank, they often have show your bank card and you'll get into these museums on the first Saturday for free.
We definitely
those kinds of things. It's just a matter of just taking the time to research things that are free or low cost to do, so that you can go out and have fun with your family and still live and have a good time. But you also have to make sure you're paying yourself. So my husband and I pay into an IRA for long-term savings, for a long-term retirement plan. And then we also have a savings that we pay into. It's not as much as we'd like, but because we are still on one income and have our car payment that we added to our family when we had our son, it's just how it is.
And so you definitely sound like you have the process of creating your healthy money menu, which is what I call a budget, and basically telling your money where to go, so you don't deprive yourself, because I don't believe that a budget has to be depriving. I just believe that you need to tell your money where to go, so you're not surprised when it's going and you're spending money and you don't know where you're spending it. If you designate where it's going to go, you create categories that you want, that you know that is important to you, you can still do those things at the same time knowing what to prioritize. And so you guys definitely have where you're living your lives, and you said you're enjoying time with your family. And so these co-ops are an interesting thing to look into. I've actually never really looked into co-ops as ways.
It's a great way to save. Like there's literally a co-op for everything. Like and guys, don't like be overwhelmed, like, oh my God, that's a lot of things to have to do and change all at once. Like we did all of this stuff gradually. Like we introduced these systems as we wanted to fix and do something better. So it wasn't just like when I went to some class and everyone laid out everything I needed to do for my money.
Yeah.
And you know, with podcasts like this where you can learn from other people and what they're doing, you know, I found out about Bountiful Basket because I wanted to learn about couponing, and the number one question I had is like, how can I get affordable produce? And they happened to mention it. So it's all about adding things and gradually into your life versus trying to do everything at once. And I believe that in all areas of your life, whether it's personal improvement, professional growth, doing things with your kids to improve their behaviors or whatever it may be, like do things one piece at a time.
Exactly. And I definitely believe in that. And I was having a conversation with that today, how like master one part and then you can add something new. And it just makes it a lot smoother with your transition of implementing these systems. So like you said, I'm pretty good at budgeting. Like I think that I'm very good at it. But I can look into these co-ops and Bountiful Basket. There's always ways that I can improve my grocery budget because it's definitely one of our major spends, along with our mortgage, is our food. And so this
it's amazing how all these little things creep up on us. One of the things that I've observed as a military spouse with my husband in military life is military life specifically breeds a lot of spending. Like it's not, even though there's a lot of trainings and things that are available for money management, it's not really taken very seriously. And I think that the biggest reason is because most active duty military people go from living at home with their parents to going into the military. And so they're never faced with those issues of, oh, I have to pay my mortgage, oh, I have to pay for my insurance, I have to pay my rent, pay my bills, because everything's taken care of them. So their paycheck is literally handed to them, and the only bill that most of them ever have is like their cell phone, or if they get a car. And so I think that it's about taking the time to educate yourself about what opportunities are available to you. So for example, there was a new dad in my husband's shop, and we had just bought our car. We bought a CRV, and how we went about buying our car is we found out about what services were available to us as members of USAA and as military. And we found out that all of the local dealerships in the town we were stationed in did a 100% military approval. Everyone gets all excited about that. But what they don't know is that they get actually a much higher interest rate. And you're talking like double-digit interest rates on your car payment.
What?
And the reason that you're getting that 100% approval is because the military, like the government, is paying the dealership for the car, not you. So what happens is the dealer goes and tells the military, hey, this person's buying this car. And they're like, okay, we're going to take the car payment out of their paycheck and pay you directly and then give them what's left over.
Wow.
So they're losing that control over where their money is going and what's happening with it. And then oftentimes, because they don't stay on it, they'll overpay for the car.
Yeah.
And then they'll get like a check back with time, but it's one of the problems they run into. So we decided that we were not going to do that. We went to a bigger city because we were in a small town. So we went to the big city, and we had used USAA's car finding tool on their website, and we looked for cars, and they have a better deal. So the sticker price on the car dealership versus what was in the USAA site were different. And that the dealership wanted to be part of the USAA's program, they had to agree to the price that was listed online. And so we got like $3,000 off of the car initially. We bought a used car because of going through USAA's car finder. We didn't even have to get our loan through them or anything. And so then when we went to the dealer, we learned that if you ask for cars that are going to auction, you get an even better deal. And so that same car that we were going to go buy ended up being an additional $2,000 cheaper because it was going to auction. So for our CRV, where when you buy it brand new, it's like $26,000. We bought it a year old, and that knocked the price down. And then because we used the car buying site and it was going to auction, we ended up only paying $15,000 for our car.
That's amazing. And it just comes from doing your research, like you said. So many, like you said, the example for people that go into military straight from high school, or they never really have to think about how they're spending their money, what the consequences are, what the impacts are. And so it can creep up on them and then it can bite them. So the education is important, and shopping around and making sure you're getting the best deal, not just because something looks shiny means that it's, it doesn't, just because it glitters doesn't mean it's gold. And I can't believe that they're charging military like double digit interest rates on their cars. That's insane.
Yeah, I think when we had gone shopped and they came back to us and they said that we were approved. Of course, approved. There was a 14% interest rate on the car, and me and my husband were like, "Yeah, no, we're out."
That's. I didn't realize that they still had interest rates that high for cars.
Because of.
Yeah, that's insane.
Different programs, different systems. It's there's still a lot of shady things out there, and so you have to. I highly recommend that if you're ever going into making a big purchase, and I think probably your two biggest purchases are going to be your home and your car.
Yep.
Don't ever be rushed. Don't ever need it.
Don't ever. Yeah, exactly. And I always say that.
Take your time. Take your time, because they're like dogs with fear. Like they smell it. They know you need it. They want it.
And there's so many stories of people getting taken advantage of because they didn't do the research or they weren't aware of something. And so I think just ask questions. I
think it's just take the time to learn. Like, people forget that they have these brilliant little machines in their pockets that they can ask anything and learn from. Google's an amazing tool. If you wanted to learn like how to buy a car or how to get the best deal on a car or what I need to know about buying my first car, like all these things, go to the internet and there's all these resources like YouTube to just learn what you would need to know. Because unfortunately, our education system in America, the public system, doesn't have like a life skills class where they teach you all of these things. But
definitely should
take the time to learn what you need to know, and don't think you can just go in and smooth talk these guys down. They're trained. Does not work.
It does not.
But yeah, so just take the time. Never need something. Make sure that you have a solution to get yourself around or have a place to live while you're trying to find your dream home or your car or whatever it may be. But and you have to know what your budget is. Like if you don't have that, as you said, your menu of what you have, if you don't know how much money you have to spend each month,
exactly,
you're not going to be able to be successful with it either.
And I think that's the main thing that people need to realize. Like, you just need to get a grasp on what's coming in versus what's going out, or else how can you make sound decisions on what you're going to spend your money on?
Yeah. And I think the other thing that we run into, and I know I'm pretty guilty about this too, is just conveniences, like an impulse buys with things where it's like, oh, I'm just so drained, I'm going to go get myself a Starbucks.
Yeah.
So drive through. I forgot I went to go run this quick errand and it ended up being gone for 4 or 5 hours. I was going to go run through the drive-through. And it's just kind of like being more prepared for things, like always having a snack in your bag, or if you do need to go run to get something, don't opt out of going to a drive-through, go into a grocery store. Water is always free or cheaper than sodas and better for you.
Yeah.
Just making, like, when you step back and can get out of that emotional decision, you're going to be able to do it. Like, I don't buy things unless I'm like, I love it. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. And I can like justify like actually needing it, like something I would wear. Is it something that I can wear like on a monthly basis? Yes, no, okay. Yes, okay. Is it in my budget? Is it something that like, do I already have something just like this, just that kind of an idea.
Yeah, and I think that definitely comes from a mindset shift where you just basically change the way you look at your relationship with money and how you're going to deal with it going forward. And so, like you said, before you buy something, thinking about, am I going to use this as much as I could use this for me to pay for it? And
yeah, it's an unfortunate situation that usually you don't start paying attention to what's happening with your money until something bad happens.
Exactly.
And we've all been there. We've all been young and dumb.
Yeah.
And I think that, and if anyone can learn from other people's lessons as best as you can. Like, my parents were military and young and dumb and made bad financial decisions, and I still made like the exact same financial mistakes that they did in my 20s. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, like, unfortunately, most lessons you have to learn the hard way.
Sometimes, yep. And unfortunately, sometimes that's how you learn. And so let's get back to the business that you created that you guys are eventually, once your husband stops working in the military, that's going to be your sole income. So how are you planning on, like, how are you scaling that? How are you working that on the side now where you can actually utilize it full time?
Yeah. Before that actually is my husband and I actually had to sit down because we are in a unique situation with the military and look at how much money my husband actually makes. So one of the things people I feel always get on their high horse about with military life is how little they get paid. And I personally think that they're looking at it wrong. My husband, well, and like in full disclosure, because you can literally go online and see how much everyone in the military makes. So my husband, as an E4, who's been in the military for 4 years, makes about between $22,000 and $23,000. Like, that's what he brings home. But we are allotted a housing allowance, and our housing allowances are based on where we live. So, like, when we go to Vegas, our housing allowance is $1,400. And then we also have medical coverage. He has, when you have TRICARE Prime, which is the military insurance, 100% of everything is covered.
Okay.
Like, we don't even pay for our medications unless you go off base for some reason. Like, everything is covered for you. I had 2 children via C-section, and had to do 2 weeks in the NICU with my daughter, and I paid nothing. So you have to look at, like, what the value of your medical insurance is. Yep.
Benefits.
Yep. And then there's also the last expense that you really have to pay attention to is life insurance. My husband and I have life insurance through the Air Force. So we have to make sure. So we really sat down and we're like, okay, how much money do you actually make? And so when you look at it, my husband actually makes between $55,000 and $60,000.
Yeah.
When you look at what we have for medical coverage and our housing and our life insurance. And so that's like the financial goal that we have to get to. So how I'm scaling it is I'm spending this time right now. So I started my business in 2016, and I was unfortunately having to grow it as quickly and scale as fast as I wanted to because I started it the first day. I launched the first day of my 3rd trimester with my daughter, and then I had an emergency C-section, and then we had a lot of issues, and I had knee surgery, and then my husband deployed. And so when you have small children and military life working against you, it's hard to scale, but I still was able to grow. And so now I'm at this, I've decided to dedicate we as my husband and I have decided to dedicate since the start of 2018 through to when he separates, dedicating all the money that we make with all on social media, putting the money back into the business. So part of that does include paying for our kids' childcare. And my kids, while we're in Korea, my kids go to an all-Korean daycare. So they're getting a language skill, and they have a fantastic education program in South Korea.
That's awesome.
So they're gone during the day, and so I'm able to work on my business, and so I have a lot of different things, and so I've been trying things. So I've been having this money has allowed for me to try things like this work, this isn't working, this is working, this isn't working. And so testing things out. And it's the only thing that you can do in marketing your business is testing, see what works, what doesn't. So I have a podcast called Marketing for Your Boring Business, where I help everyday business owners with different areas of social media and online marketing. I also have a YouTube channel where I do 3 videos a week, one of which is called Military Marketing Monday, where I educate businesses and marketers about military life so they can market to my demographic better. And then I do a lot of my other 2 videos are usually how-tos, like how to use Facebook, how to use a Facebook group, how to use Instagram, how to use LinkedIn. I also am going to start branching out into different videos that are helping with your business. So how to accomplish your personal goals, how to have time management as a work-at-home mom, and those sorts of things. I also do a lot of networking. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time in Facebook groups. Spend a lot of time having conversations with people. And when I have guests on my show, usually there are other marketers, and so I'm able to build that relationship and that rapport with them. And they are actually resellers of my business. So what that means is my system for our social media content plan and our team work as the social media team for other agencies. So they're able to offer the social media service to their clients because it's something that they want, but they don't. But the agency doesn't want to do.
And that's
so
a
we're
great
able
plan.
to. Yeah, we're able to be a resource for them. So about 75% of our business is actually other agencies, but all of the information, all of our marketing, all of our stuff is directed toward these individual businesses, and we work with them. And so it's just been a matter of just like slow and steady. I was able to go to the conference this year. That's really helpful. When we get back to the States, I'm going to be really dedicated to doing more in-person networking, going to more conferences, trying to grace some of these places' stages to talk about marketing for boring businesses. And I have a plan for writing a book. So, I mean, there's just a lot of scaling and building. And none of it would have happened if I didn't have a foundation. So our system that I have developed for all-in-one is pretty ironclad.
Yeah. And I think I love that plan, how you guys are basically being marketed through these other agencies. It's like a very good business plan.
Thanks.
And so what kind of clients do you service? I know it's marketing for your boring business. So
well, boring businesses, I define a boring business as an everyday business that everyone needs. They're oftentimes people that are usually working in their business versus getting to work on their business. And so they are the ones that are fixing your roofs, filling your cavities, doing the lawyering and the roofing and the contracting and the financial planning and all that kind of stuff.
The accounting.
So, yep. The accounting, yep. The accounting is a boring business. So we work with them because I've been doing it for years. I've been doing social media marketing for about 9 years now. I started in 2010, and my number one client is always the everyday business. So that's who I talk with. That's where I worked with hundreds of them. And I started the business not because we needed a financial solution at the time. We were still full on military life, and I lived in a small town in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and I was meeting all these fantastic educated women who could not get retail and fast food jobs because they were military spouses. And I thought that was awful, but I understood from a business perspective why they weren't getting jobs. So I was like, you know what? I should start a business where I work with other small business owners, but the people that do the work are the military spouses, and no matter where they're stationed or what the military throws at them, they're still able to supplement their family's income because they're able to work their client work around their own schedules.
Oh, that's amazing, that mission statement, the reason, your why behind it. So basically you and your employees, because you guys are all military wives.
Yep. We're a team of 6. We're growing. We're in the process of hiring some more people. So
that's great.
Yeah, and it's a really unique space because it's really, you know, every single one of our team members knows exactly what that person's going through,
Yeah.
whether it's a deployment, whether it's a PCS, whether it's worrying about what's happening in the political sphere, politics, and TDY and all that kind of stuff. So we're able to pick up the slack for each other seamlessly because we understand the life that comes with it unconditionally. So it doesn't even a second thought for us. And I think that that's what makes us particularly unique is because we have that bond together.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's that's a great connection that you guys have. And I do like the fact that you thought of that and you basically, yeah, you thought of them and in their need that they couldn't find jobs, I guess, because they move around so much. So the employers were worried about that.
Yeah, 80% of military spouses are unemployed or underemployed, and it's due to the fact that they have inconsistencies in their resumes. And because they move so much, and people, while it is illegal to ask somebody, "Are you a military spouse?" and not hire them because of their part of the whole equality issues.
Yeah.
It still is a deciding factor because most companies, while oftentimes people will move companies on the average of 3 to 5 years anyway, companies want to hire someone with the intention of them sticking around and being there for a long time. The other thing, though, that you run into with military spouses is that we oftentimes have to drop everything that we're doing because the military told our husbands to, or our spouses to,
Yeah.
and we have to accommodate it. It's just how it is. Like my husband would be like,
There's
"Hey,
no
I
there's no
need
way
to come
around
to the
it.
base and do this because they told me to." And I was like, "Okay." So I have to drop what I'm doing, drop my work. And luckily for me, my kids are at school sometimes, but if they're at home, we're going to file them and take them and go deal with stuff. And companies just don't understand that. And it's kind of hard to expect them to. So by it being a military spouse run business, it's 100% understanding of the life.
Of everything that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So do you have any programs that you're working on right now so that I can put in the show notes so that people can sign up for?
No, the best thing, if you're ever, if you are a business owner of any kind, please check out Working Through My Business podcast or even subscribe on YouTube to help your business stand out in that cluttered news feed. While my information is geared towards boring businesses, it can help any business.
Okay.
And my advice for you guys when it comes to your budget is when you're trying to live off one income, even if you are a 2-income family, I would highly encourage you to find a way to live off of one income.
Yeah,
I would find whoever makes the most money and live off of their paycheck, and find a way to use your other paycheck to 100% like put into savings or to power pay off your mortgage or power pay off your car payment. Because by paying things off sooner, you're paying the banks less in interest, and then that's something you don't have to pay for anymore or worry about. And with all of the uncertainties in our political sphere, is when it comes to your retirement, you need to make sure it's in your own hands, it's in your own control. So make sure that you're investing and paying yourself back into your retirement while also trying to find a way to live in the meantime. And I don't want to say trying to live while also living in the meantime. I'm a firm believer that you should not be saving to live later.
Yep,
you should be saving to live later, yes, but make sure you're enjoying life now.
Yep.
Because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That's very true. And I think ideally, even if you're a 2-household income, trying to live off one income is just beneficial. You can do so much, you can save so much, you can pay down debt if you have debt that you need to pay down, but you can just do so much more if you can actually find a way to live off of that one income. So I do advocate for that.
And you have to think of most people, you have one of you in your house who probably has a corporate job. What happens if that job goes away?
Exactly.
So if you can live off of one paycheck and keep it there and maintain your standard of living, do it.
You'll be good.
My best recommendation to you.
And so I like to end by asking my guests to say what Live Financially Savvy means to them. So if you can tell me what Live Financially Savvy means to them.
Sure. I think living financially savvy means that you know where all of your money is going every time it's spent, and that there's no surprises, and you are in control of your financial present and future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for being a guest. I really enjoyed our talk, and I learned a lot about the military and what you guys go through. And I learned a lot about co-ops. So thank you. I'm going to definitely research that for myself. And
bountifulbasket.org, so that I cannot wait. It's like the first thing I'm going to do when I get back to the States. Once we have a house, I can't wait.
So I'm definitely going to put that in the show notes for people to check it out. So.
Yeah, let me tell you guys, I pay $1.59 a pound for bananas.
Oh.
So
I definitely think I pay
49-cent bananas that you have at your grocery store.
Yeah, I think we're at 69 cents.
Yeah, we in Korea and in Japan, we pay a really expensive import-export fee.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's expensive.
Oh my goodness. Well, Las Vegas is coming soon, so
yes, it is. Very excited.
That's something to look forward to. So thank you again. I really appreciate you meeting with me to talk on the podcast.
Yeah, not a problem. And if you ever have any more questions or you have any follow-up, just let me know. I'm happy to help. So.
Thank you.
All right, you have a great rest of your day. Let me know if you need anything else in the future.
I will.
Bye.
Bye.
So I want to thank you for listening to the Live Financially Savvy podcast. You can hear the episode at livefinanciallysavvy.com, and you can get all the show notes at livefinanciallysavvy.com. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Live Financially Savvy. And let us know what you think. Please like, comment, and share, and rate and download wherever you listen to your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.